And this is Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Services, Talking Business, our interview series, talking with leaders in the field of banking, insurance, customer service, digital marketing, and business education. All to highlight great work done by our team at CBSI in Harrison, New York, as we provide insurance-based benefits to the credit card and payments industry, and the work done by our team during this unprecedented COVID-19 period. Now, we are very glad to have a chance to talk with a good friend of ours from the Washington, D.C. area, and that is Don Neal, who's the founder and CEO of 360 Live Media. Don, good to see you. How's everything going for you?
Good to see you, Ken. I'm glad to be here with you today and all the people watching this video.
Yeah, Don, we met as you're an expert in running conferences and helping trade organizations reposition themselves, and now everybody has had to, very quickly this spring pivot to online, and it looks like it's going to be for the foreseeable future. Tell us, how's the last 4 months been going for you?
Well, like everybody, I think we've all adapted to the environment, and one thing I will tell you is that the nonprofit community, trade shows and association conferences, etc., have really done a good job, I think, of rising to the occasion. So we serve the nonprofit sector, and what I will tell you is the lessons from the first 4 months, 5 months now, really, of being in this pandemic and economic crisis has revealed, I think, a lot of new opportunities for events in the future to modernize, frankly, take a lot of the waste, inefficiency, and friction out of the live events. And I think we're going to end up in a much better place with a hybrid, live, digital, and virtual environment. So I'm really optimistic, and like many people, doing everything we can every day just to keep pressing ahead.
Sure. Now, you've had a lot of insights into the shift to webinars. Several of the trade groups that we work with, the Direct Marketing Club of New York, Hudson Valley Direct Marketing Club, New England, DMA, have all shifted to online webinars. And you said that's a challenge. Certainly the financials aren't anywhere near what holding a live event is. What is the key for holding successful webinars as a first start and going virtual?
Well, there's really three things I'd say. One is trying to take a live event and virtualizing it isn't a good strategy. You really have to start from scratch when you're designing a virtual or digital event, and you really have to think like a TV producer, not a live event organizer. And so that's job number one, is really start tabula rasa and design an interactive TV environment that's broken up into day parts and doesn't just start at 9 a.m. and run till 6. That's number one. Number two is building an economic model that allows virtual events to be more profitable than they have been. We're seeing a lot of virtual events are producing 90% less operating income than the live in-person events, and so that's not a sustainable model. And the third thing I'll tell you is that organizations are looking to next year, hoping there's going to be a resurgence back to live, and there will be live environments next year, but I think we're going to be dealing with mostly a hybrid environment, as I said before. So I think those are the three learnings so far.
I think the other big effort we're seeing is how to create conferences, and we've talked to a couple of programs for their award shows, where it's a longer event, much more than a webinar, and taking what had been several days of programming and trying to find a way that keeps people engaged over a period of time. What are your thoughts about for those who would have trade conferences this year, trying to convert and finding value by virtual activity?
Well, again, back to the idea of being a TV producer, I think you have to look at events now as episodes. And for any binge TV watchers out there, anybody that really is looking at how to design a virtual event, look at your favorite TV shows, look at what Quibi is doing. Quibi is a short form entertainment platform that was launched earlier this year. So there's a lot of models, I think, to follow, and the key is to become more of a online virtual experience designer versus a in-person event planner. That's probably a mindset shift, I think, that will help anybody planning an event think differently about the environment that they're dealing in.
It seems to me, and some of the groups that I work with, that you're really talking about creating a stream of virtual events that would be produced and throughout the year on a more regular basis than one concentrated event, like a 2 or 3 day in-person conference. Is that the direction, kind of having a steady stream of programming that you send to your members?
Yeah, I use the analogy, when you go to a live event, you fly somewhere, you've got a hotel room, you've made a big investment and you're a captive audience. And no matter how good or bad the event is, you're going to stay until your flight home. The difference with a virtual or digital event is you can leave with a click of your mouse. And so I think the key is to break the day up into day parts, just like a media company would do: prime time, drive time, late night. Think about those times in the day when you can deliver content. So I would say, 2 to 3 hours a day over a week is probably a good strategy rather than a 9 to 5. Most people, as you know, aren't going to sit in front of a computer screen 9 to 5 and consume an event, go to a virtual trade show, go to, networking sessions and attend a lot of, downloaded monologue speeches by keynote speakers. So you really have to think about the attention span of an audience. And we've all been trained, obviously, to consume sound bites and short, content in very small bursts. And consuming a virtual event is no different. So again, you have to have empathy with your audience and recognize we all have busy days and we're going to take time out of our day to consume what's in our best interest. And it's unlikely it's going to be a 9 to 5. So I think at least a 1 week window. And to your point earlier, I think taking a longer view, maybe a 30-day window, and breaking it up over a period of weeks is probably a good strategy, and probably where most organizers are going to be next year.
Now, one of the things that people are concerned about is networking. Normally at a business trade event, you would have a period of time to meet people, meet fellow guests at the event. And it's tough to do that in a webinar. But I've seen some programming, especially one done by Jeffrey Hazlitt of the C-Suite Network, where they brought 75 or so guests onto the screen and with a short talk, but trying to get everyone to say something. And I found it relaxing because he was doing his at in the evening, like 5 o'clock on a Friday, and but also because you have the name of people. And you have some technology that enables you to exchange email addresses, let's say. What have you seen as far as good networking tools online?
Well, I think LinkedIn's as good a platform as there is, in my opinion, for professional and business networking. So what I tend to look at is, how do I like to interact with the people on LinkedIn who are either reaching out to me or that I'm reaching out to? So I think that's a good analogy for thinking about how you convert that technology to a virtual event. There's a lot of artificial intelligence being developed right now that's taking profiles of everyone attending an event, using algorithms and software to really match people up and try to approximate people who would be good matches for one another. I think that's going to get better and better and better, but it still comes down to a personal connection. And I think people need something in common to connect around. So I think if you create small chat rooms, 3 or 4 people around a very specific topic of what I would call intense mutual interest. If you and I have an intense mutual interest about books, or I can't see what's on your shelf there, but it looks like you've got some collectible things. But like, once I know something about you, Ken, I can start there and we can start to build a repartee and a conversation that's personal, and then it blends into business. I think that's what it comes down to. Most people don't like to network. Most people like to be heard and make connections. And I think the intimacy of a conversation like this is a good example of what people are looking for. The more engineered it is, frankly, sometimes the more awkward it is. So I think, we have to go back to some of the traditional ways that people connect with one another.
And Don, you've got a terrific blog that you send out every Monday morning, Don's blog, talking about your thoughts on conferences and live events. And recently you had a very interesting topic, 10 ways proven to generate new revenue. Now, that's a big concern for trade associations that may not be able to have a gathering this year. Highlight a few of the key points for trade groups, nonprofits to generate revenue from their virtual events.
Yeah, well, something I'll tell you at the outset, and this might be comfort to everybody watching this, most virtual events aren't coming close to the revenue of what live in-person events. They're off by, as I said earlier, 90% of the revenue is being lost in the virtual environment. And for all you cat lovers, we now have something in common. If you want to reach out to me, that's Mojo back there. And so he's a Hemingway cat. He's got 6, I think, or 7 claws in the front. So he's a bit of a unique one. So I think the key is to come up with access for industry partners, sponsors, and exhibitors who want to connect with individuals based on a preset set of criteria. And so that's sort of the virtual hosted buyer model, where someone comes to a business meeting predisposed to talk to a business partner and doing virtual focus groups and virtual product testing and virtual product placement. I think there's so many great ideas that were adopted by the advertising and media industry 20, 30, 40 years ago that associations and event organizers can start to adopt. I am a big fan of this water called hint water. It's water that's got just a little hint of flavor. And whenever I'm talking, I always hold this up and people ask me, where do I get this water? And I'm not getting paid to do this, but I get a subscription. I get 96 bottles of this a month. This is a great example, just like on The Voice or American Idol, where they've got the Dunkin' Donuts or Coca-Cola Company products. I think this is the way we have to start thinking about engaging with people and exhibitors so they start to generate more revenue for the organizer.
Yes. Now, one of the solutions that you suggest are what are called virtual business exchanges. And tell us a little bit about that concept. How do you execute it? What's the value in that?
So a company comes to the table and they say, I want to meet 10 people who meet this criteria, this level of influence, this buying power, this title, this industry, and maybe this geographic region of the country. So they come with a set of criteria, and then the event organizer takes that criteria, goes to their database, matches all the people that meet that criteria, and they pull those 10 people that meet the exact specifications that an industry partner wants. And then they set up a series of brokered meetings just like this, and you can charge anywhere from $500 to, I've seen as high as $2,000 to $3,000 per meeting that an industry partner is willing to pay to talk to a highly qualified prospect. As you know, trade shows is really a series of kissing a lot of frogs, trying to find, the prince or princess who can buy from you. And I think those days are going to be gone because it's very inefficient. So I think virtual hosted buyer, just like the live hosted buyer model, is probably one of the most successful ways to commercialize an event. So I see a bright future for that revenue stream.
And you talk about the technology platforms being very important that organizations, trade groups use, and thinking of the objectives that may help you go beyond what you do at the start. You talk about the second event that you do online, trying to improve, try to get more engagement with people. Why is technology taking a longer look at technology platforms important for trade groups?
Well, at our company, 360 Live Media, we've looked at over 120 of the event tech platforms, and there's a lot more than that out there. And so the reason it's so important to evaluate the technology, because it's really, it's your hotel room, it's your ballroom, it's your convention center, it's the place where the event happens, and everything related to the engagement, the interaction, the sponsorship, the exhibits, the awards, the gamification, the chat, the Q&A, all of those things are really driven by technology now because we don't have the live environment. And so I think you have to really design the event that you want, map out the specifications, and then go shopping for the best event tech platforms. And one very seldom is enough. You normally need somewhere between 2 and 4 tech platforms assembled into a robust environment to deliver an event that's engaging and all the things I talked about earlier.
Well, certainly we've been looking at different platforms, and Security can be an issue, and just the quality of the video, it can be different on different platforms. Now, tell us a little bit. We've been discussing a little bit about what the balance of this year looks like. It doesn't look like there's going to be any in-person conferences for the balance of this very unique year. What do you see happening as for organizations trying to maintain a presence, trying to prospect, building engagement environments, and then going into next year?
Well, one thing I'll tell you, we know that nature abhors a vacuum, and I think the marketplace abhors a vacuum as well. People don't know what to expect for next year. None of us know what's going to happen. So I think what we have to do is we have to say with some certainty what we're anticipating, even if it's just a hypothesis, in terms of what % of your event's going to be live, virtual, and digital. And we've introduced a new model with a live in-person hub, which is really a broadcast studio, and then a series of live in-person remote locations, could be from 3 to 10 people anywhere in the world. And then we take that and we create our own studio audience. We bring in production crews, we bring in speakers, we socially distance and create a safe environment for people to engage. And then we broadcast that out to the virtual environment. So I think that's the model for 21. And then you have to use all of the social media platforms, LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and supplement the virtual environment with the digital environment. So I'm very excited and bullish about what 21 holds, but every one of you watching this is going to have to decide, if your event's in July of 2021, what % do you think can be virtual and live, and then start to plan that, because you can then provide some certainty to your sponsors, your exhibitors, and your audience, so they can get a sense of what's to come. Even if you have to change based on conditions on the ground in, let's say, April of next year, at least you'll be closer to understanding where you can end up than just kind of waiting and seeing, because that's not a good strategy.
Providing certainty, that's something we all look forward to. Don Neal, the founder and CEO of Washington, D.C.-based 360 Live Media. Don, perhaps a final thought about services of your company, how you're working with your clients through this unprecedented time?
Well, thanks for that invitation to do that, Ken. 3 things I'll say. One is we serve the nonprofit, association, professional society, and institute community. That is our lane, number 1. Number 2, we are helping our clients build a revenue base. Right now, most organizations are looking for new ways to generate revenue. So we're spending a lot of time helping our clients generate new ways to incrementally improve the revenue. And number 3, we're helping them anticipate and plan for a really powerful comeback in 2021. So would love to talk to any of you. 360livemedia.com is our website. My email address is don@360livemedia. You can reach out to me directly. And Ken, I appreciate this opportunity, and good to see you again. And thanks for introducing me to your audience.
Absolutely, Don. Neal, great to talk with you, and hopefully we can do this again. You've got some very innovative ideas about how to work through this unprecedented time for meetings and conferences that we've otherwise enjoyed going to for many years. Don, good to see you. We'll do this again. And this is Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Services Talking Business, all to highlight the work of our team at CBSI in Harrison, New York. We provide insurance-based benefits to the credit card industry. So thank you to Don Neal, and this is Ken Kraetzer. Have a great day, everybody.